This is TeamWayfinder interviewing the voice of Kiritsugu Emiya, Leon Kennedy, and most recently, from the brand new dub Attack on Titan,
Commander Levi.
So, Matthew, it's an honor to have you on the show.
No, it's an honor to be on. Thanks for contacting me.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. So, first question.
Yes.
How did you get into voice acting?
I initially began with just a long-time love affair with video games and cartoons. Growing up, one of the indoor kids, that was definitely my hobby through my entire youth. And so when I got more into theater and got into more performing arts, it was something that I always had in the back of my mind as an interest, but never really thought of it as a pursuable career choice. So after years of working the day job and a couple of small meetings with director Joe Mercer, who I met through my father, who was an audio engineer, so he worked in the realm of audio and did some work for their company. I was lucky enough to do a couple of Wallabits, tiny background voices for a couple of anime back in the day. And that was just enough to kind of whet my palate and think, maybe I could take this seriously. So after many years of pushing the pavement, working hard, networking, trying to get as much, project work under my resume as possible, I eventually was getting enough work to leave my day job and take the risky step of pursuing it as an actual career. And it's been an interesting climb, but so far so good.
Good to hear. All right. So what is your favorite form of media to act in? I see you do live action. Do you prefer anime or live action?
They both have different things I enjoy. Live acting is fun. It's much more of a connection-based medium. You get to have other actors to play off of, but it does also a lot of repetition, a lot of waiting. It's very technical and time-consuming in that way. For anime, video games, cartoons, I really enjoy the fact that for one, I get to play a lot larger spectrum of characters. When you're doing on camera, you're kind of pigeonholed based on how you look. There's no way to really avoid that, unfortunately. So there's a very small scope of characters you can actually vie for, where in voiceover, I can do a lot more than that. I could do elderly shopkeepers. I can do, 8-foot-tall demons with giant greatswords. I can be, a creepy, pardon my bird, Dagon, it's getting lonely. You can be a whole array of characters that you normally wouldn't be able to do on camera. So I'd say I enjoy on camera, but voiceover is really where my heart lies.
What is your favorite character you've ever voiced and why?
That's a tough one. Oh, man. Myself being a geek, I tend to be a little more invested in a lot of the projects that I do than some other voice actors. I'd have to say so far it was Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 6 and Damnation. Partially because I've been such a fan of the Resident Evil franchise since the first one on the original PlayStation, and Leon was my favorite character in the series up to the point where I had the opportunity to kind of step into his shoes. So it was a little daunting, but at the same time, being able to take over a character that I already loved so much and being able to do the facial motion capture for him as well and spend so much time working on crafting the story and his personality transition was really a treat. So I'd say so far that was my favorite experience.
How is it recording for the game Tales of Exilia, since it's such a big game with so many lines?
Oh, well, it's great because it means more paychecks. The sheer amount of dialogue is a fun challenge, but I'm a JRPG nut and have been since I was a kid. So I know the medium. I love the way it plays out. I love the little skits that the Tales series is known for. I think that really kind of helps liven up the atmosphere, the grind of have constant battles, and helps you really kind of feel the connection between the characters. So it was a lot of fun to be involved on such a scale of dialogue and be able to play such an intricate arc for a character like Alvin, and just to be a part of the Tales series was a huge honor for me. So I really, really enjoyed it. And Alvin was a fun character just because he's kind of a dick.
Next question. Have you ever had any time in your career where you had to push your acting totally out of your comfort zone?
Out of my comfort zone, I would say a lot of the military games, a lot of the large-scale screaming games. There are a lot of video games that require sometimes 2, 3, upwards 4 hours in a row of just at the top of your lungs yelling battle, just throat-ripping sessions. And those can be dreadful. You learn the best way you can to do the least amount of damage to your voice, and that helps. But even then, it's hard to walk out of those sessions and not have little voice left and have to take the next couple days off to recover. And, be pouring sweat, have a pounding migraine by the end because you've just been yelling nonstop for 4 hours into a microphone. So that's definitely really harsh. And I think it's an element of voiceover in video games that people don't quite realize or appreciate what we have to go through develop and produce for the final product. So that's definitely, I consider that out of my comfort zone.
Do you have any funny stories in the booth that kind of stand out to you?
I would say it's fun dealing with games that are translated, games that were in Japanese and then are now being converted to English, because sometimes the translations come through a little wonky and you have to fix them on the spot. For instance, there was a game I did called Fist of North Star Ken's Rage, based on the classic anime series. I played the character Ray, and his ability involves with him being able to slice guys apart with the tips of his fingers, like he's just got giant sonic blade fingertips. And one of the translated lines that I guess didn't make it through approval was him shouting, "There's no way you can stop me from getting my fingers inside you," which didn't fly too well with most of us. So it was this awkward pause moment where I just cold read it and then looked over at the director, and the director slowly looked at the producer, and the producer slowly looked back at the director. The director looked back at me and hit the talk back button and was like, "We're gonna workshop that for a minute. Just hold on." So that was fun. And then for Fire Emblem Awakening, the ending sequence, the CG, they had animated the lips very carefully to match the Japanese lip flap. So we had to make sure the final phrase that Crom says into the camera, this very intense, kind of emotional, warm, CG sequence for the ending, that it matched the lips. And the director, Patrick Seitz, was having a hard time kind of figuring it out. So we were taking time to kind of try and figure out a sentence that matched the lip flap and still got across the idea that the sentence wanted. I was looking at the lips, and a phrase jumped to mind that matched the lip flap perfectly. So I'm like, "Guys, just go, just record. I got it. They're like, "All right, cool." Beeps come on, and it matched perfectly to the ending as Crom grabs the player first person view into his face and says, "I can see your butthole." Obviously, they didn't keep that for the actual final version, but it matched lip flap perfectly.
That is beautiful. All right. Well, I just want to thank you for your time, and I'm sure the fans will really enjoy this interview.
Oh, no worries, man. It's my pleasure.
Team Wayfinder signing off, wishing you all the best.
Take care, folks. Yes.
Do you have any pointers for beginning voice actors?
Yes. Primarily, and this tends to be discarded in a lot of conversations about voice acting, people who are pursuing it, the acting part of voice acting is so important. Like, funny voices are great, and having a good range of timbres and textures is fantastic, but you need to have that very, very strong base of performance ability to apply that to. So if you aren't already, I strongly recommend enrolling in classes on scene acting and character development and cold reading and all those things that help you really produce a really, really strong performance, and then you can apply those skills to it. Once you've gotten to the point where you feel like you're competitive and you're confident enough in your ability, then you want to start looking for work to build up a resume. There are a lot of really great breakdown services online you could look for projects, independent projects, and animation students that are looking for actors for their projects. A lot of it's not paying at the beginning, but it's a good way to make connections, network with people, and build up experience in a resume and pull material that you can eventually cobble together for a demo reel. So that's the next big step, because now that you've spent the time to really focus on your skills and develop them to be competitive in the market, now you need to start building up the reputation, the experience, and the body of work that proves that you're ready to go at it. So that's my biggest suggestion.
All right. Thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure for coming.